Hello and welcome, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the International Institute's conversation today, the Africa We Deserve videocast. We are so grateful to have everyone with us. We are having a conversation today about Africa's rise as a global partner. As everyone knows, the U.S. Africa Summit is occurring. The Biden-Harris U.S. Africa Leaders Summit is coming up December 13th through 15th in Washington, D.C. And it's really a time of partnership, um, of relationship building and mutual respect that's occurring. And the International Institute is hosting several pre-runner conversations along the sides, the margins of that event. And this is one of several of those events. Today's conversation is focusing on strengthening U.S. Africa women's business networks. And we have with us today some really powerhouse individuals and special guests. We have the charge d'affaires of the Embassy of St. Kitts and Nevis, Chanel Simmons, with us. We also have with us Sana Hisham. She's a regional investment advisor for Tony Blair Institute for Global Change from Morocco. Uh, for regrets, we regrettably, Mr. Farrell Elliott couldn't be with us today. He is deeply sends his condolences and regrets. He is severely under the weather, and he is from Sierra Leone, from the Platform Capital Investment Partners. Shortly joining us will be Mayor Landing Sane. He is the mayor of the Lower River region of the Republic of the Gambia, and he is currently at a public event that he needs some time to get back from. And with us also today, who will also be giving our closing remarks, but also is coming on as a panelist, is Mr. Ray Bridgewater as the CEO of the Assembly of Petworth. Just to give you a bit of background about our panelist, Ms. Chanel Simmons is currently the charge d'affaires and the interim at the Embassy of St. Kitts and Nevis in Washington, D.C. She has a Master's of Arts degree in International Studies and Diplomacy from the University of London and a Bachelor's Art degree in French and Spanish from the University of the West Indies in London. And she is a Chevening Scholar and has a keen interest in international development. As I told you, no lightweights here today at all. Sana Hisham is a senior investment professional and entrepreneur. She works currently for the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change as a senior regional investment promotion advisor to Desert to Power program held by USID, among other world-class partners. There is a long list of achievements that Sana engaged herself in. Sana works on political coordination around the Desert to Power projects, the finalization and authorization of national and regional roadmaps of the Sahel countries, supporting more efficient investment in energy policy, as well as mobilizing international capital from around diversified projects. And her portfolio scale is quite amazing and just astonishing. So with that, I would love to welcome everyone to the show, but I also want to give time for Ray to really understand his work in Washington, D.C. and throughout internationally, has been focused on healthcare and building bridges, providing mobile clinic and telehealth services throughout the globe, focusing on Africa and also the Caribbean and South America. So this is a very that we have before us right now as we are live and everyone is seeing what we're doing right now and hearing what we're doing. I'd love to welcome the panelists to the show and be able to have this conversation. So please, if there's something that I have forgotten to say from your from your profile, please take this opportunity to add your voice to that conversation.
Yes, thank you. First of all, our area of concentration here in the DC area is around looking at global health. Global health from the aspect of women and children, around breast cancer issues when we talk on the aspect of looking at women's health. We utilize medical mobile units to reach out to the population, especially the most vulnerable population. All our projects are tri-state. All our projects are at least bilingual. Most of our projects are multilingual to handle the large population Africa. So French and Amharic is spoken on the units, and the medical doctors out of the African countries. So that's how we make an impact in that aspect of connecting with Africa and our African population. We have the largest Ethiopian population in the country in this region. So Amharic is very much spoken when we take the mobile units out.
Fabulous. Thank you for adding your voice to that. Same opportunity for Sana and Chanel. Please add your voice to the introduction, because there's no way that I simply can really cover the breadth and depth of your work and your commitment that you've made for your life of service to the people. So please add your voice.
Thank you, Viola. Thank you very much for the introduction. Highlighted some of my work. So yes, this topic is really very timely for my career journey and for what I'm aiming to achieve, either for the Desert to Power or as an entrepreneur. As I consider myself as other businesswoman, I'm talking to different opportunities as an illustration of how women could actively contribute to position Africa as a global partner. So yes, we are working on Desert to Power initiative. Desert to Power initiative is a very special initiative which is held by the African Development Bank in cooperation with the USAID, with the government of US and other partners in the roundtable. And it's a very special in the way that it aims to address the political, security, social dynamics in the Sahel countries, which are more among the more challenging in the world, by harnessing its solar potential, by developing solar projects, but other projects, industrial and agricultural projects, in order to provide employment for women, for young entrepreneurs, and for young in general. So yes, I think that it has a very, relation and very, links with the issue you raised. As we are working with the USAID, but also we are seeking to strengthen our partnerships with other partners like Middle East partners in order to raise funds around this initiative. This is a timely topic also because I recently launched my entrepreneurial journey by launching Finovate Invest, which is a firm that aims to be an investment platform, channeling institutional capital to some climate adaptation solutions. And I thank you very much for this opportunity to talk about all the investment opportunities and business development ones we can, partner around. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for joining us and for saying yes. I totally appreciate it. Chanel, please add your voice.
Yes, thank you, Viola, and thank you as well for this opportunity. the International Institute to participate in this discussion alongside a group of experts. We do, as I said earlier, we do have a group of heavyweights on our panel today. And it is certainly a pleasure to have this opportunity to interact and share knowledge and expertise in these various areas. The discussion is a timely one. And as we reflect on women and our role as women, I'm a diplomat here in Washington, D.C. And while I've only been here for going on 2 years, it has been a tremendous opportunity learning more about what we can do in our respective countries to help women, especially as we look at it in the post-COVID context and how women were, affected by COVID in terms of their health, well-being, economic situations, social situations. And it is through these contacts, through these connections, through institutes such as yours, Viola, that we're able to partner with these groups to see how much we can help our women ensure that they do get a voice and they become part of the conversation and discussion to ensure women empowerment, women gender equality. So thank you, and I look forward to this discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for being here. Totally appreciate it. We will explore the opportunities to build the Africa we deserve, one of socio-economic and wealth acceleration through smart alignment of creating sustainable business development opportunities, of enterprise generation opportunities that can create industries on the continent and bring 1 million jobs across Africa that has an impact on Africa and its diaspora. And that diaspora is spread out across the globe. And we want to do more connecting with the Caribbean and Africa for that opportunity. And the time is right. We are at the midst of the US Africa Leaders Summit. And the Leaders Summit here, this conversation is one of the pre-runners to that Leaders Summit, on the margins of that. And we want to take the opportunity that we have before us to how can the US Africa Leaders Summit, how can US and Africa together? We have all the world leaders coming together here, convening in Washington, D.C. Within 2 weeks. How can they support women in industry to form effective relationships, to operationalize the hope of AFCA, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, and AGOA? What are some of your thoughts? This is an open conversation. Add your voice as you feel.
Okay. Shall I go first?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Sure. Okay, wonderful. Thank you again. That's a very good question, Viola. And as we reflect on the hope of AFTA and the AGOA, I think it's important at the outset that we realize that our world has gone through significant changes since these agreements were signed. And while one may argue that tremendous steps were taken to build out these partnerships to achieving the desired objectives of the agreements, that the past 2 years alone have been enormous setbacks for all of us and have potentially reversed the progress that we have made. In the context of post-COVID environment, we are confronting a convergence of crises globally. We have found ourselves in a geopolitical and geoeconomic pretzel, and many of our countries were already struggling with various socioeconomic challenges prior to the pandemic. Women, who play an integral role in the development or success of any society, were disproportionately affected, having been dealt a hard blow in their socioeconomic well-being. So moving forward, operationalizing the hope of AFTA and the AGOA, to my mind, means that it must be fit for purpose if it is to achieve this overall objective of generating economic growth, development, and stability. And to attain that, it must be viewed through a gender lens where gender-sensitive mechanisms are also included to create that enabling environment for women, to help them reinvigorate and rebuild and create long-term resilient solutions that will empower our women as they make their contribution to the national development agenda. and creating the Africa we deserve. So it is my hope that even as, African leaders and the US as they descend on us here in Washington, D.C., that this will be part of the conversation. How can we reactivate? How can we get our women back out, supporting them so that they too can contribute to our development agenda?
Well said. Very well said. And we have the opportunity before us. Want to bring on Sana. I see you smile and nodding of the head. You're agreeing with your sister here. Add your
Exactly,
voice.
yes, exactly. I agree definitely with Chanel, and gender equity mechanisms are now, I need to be integrated in any partnership or any, business development opportunity in Africa. And to respond to this question, I don't find, more meaningful than talking about desert to power in detail and present what are the developmental opportunities it offers to women and to youth. Because I want to seize this discussion as an opportunity in order, to talk to partners as we are live and everyone can see us, to talk about the Desert to Power achievements and the opportunities of partnership we can build around these business developments. So Desert to Power is an initiative that is very focused also on the gender equity mechanisms. The gender equity criteria is verified through all the value chain, and it seeks to solve the political, social, and economic challenging dynamics in one of the most challenging regions in the world, which is the Sahel region in Africa, by harnessing the solar potential of these countries. So the idea is that there is no more meaningful, way to develop a population than seizing their potential, their developmental potential, then developing projects which are profitable and which can provide employment. The idea is to produce 10 gigawatts of solar generation capacity and provide electricity for up to 250 million people through grid-connected and off-grid solutions and interventions. So this is also the impact, which is, the objective of Desert to Power is reaching women directly, as the electricity access is in some way impacting women in Africa more than men. So we can here talk about the clean cooking, about the healthcare, as the health is very dependent on power, about education also. So the improvements of electricity access is also an important aspect in enhancing the women's situation in such countries. So the partnerships are key mechanism or key elements, and co-financing opportunities are also a key mechanism in order to leverage these business development opportunities. And Tony Blair Institute here, the position of Tony Blair Institute in partnership with Power Africa program is affording indeed high-level advisory and coordination over Desert to Power and other African initiatives, and is leveraging its network. It's the network of Sir Tony Blair and the network of its team in order to bring more partners around the Desert to Power roundtable. So we work with governments through Africa and with intergovernmental organizations and multilateral development institutions like African Development Bank, World Bank, and other multilateral development institutions to unlock and de-risk the developmental potential, to de-risk projects more concretely. And we are touching four main areas that are important to explain in the framework of this discussion. We are working on the on-grid power generation, the development of on-grid projects. We are working on the grid transmission infrastructures development through building transmission lines and the intra-African integration is also essential lever for the regional integration. And within this framework, we are working on an important project, which is the Trans-Saharan Grid Connection line, and which is expected to transport energy through all the Sahel countries and facilitate energy trade between them. The third developmental area, which is very strategic to improve energy access, and in order to complete also what Ray talked about, is the decentralized or the off-grid, and it's an important and strategic element for the rural electrification, as it's difficult to reach rural areas with on-grid opportunities, as the grid transmission is under, we have, a big lack in these regions in grid transmission lines. The fourth and very important, and that is something we can talk about with Chanel, with Ray, and with other, with other sector-focused professionals. We are working also about a more transversal and generic perspective, and it's about identifying and investing in business development opportunities in the productive usages of solar energy. And the productive usage could be in healthcare, could be in education, could be in industry, could be in agriculture, could be in hydrogen, and many other, sectors. So at the intersection between several sectors, we can find interesting business development opportunities that can enhance the women's situation, mainly in agriculture, in the rural areas, for example. That is the only way to position, Desert to Power, but other initiatives and the partnership between Africa and US at a macro level in a wider role, and to position it as an enabler and catalyzer of the social and economic development, either for women population, because if it has a positive impact on the population, it will have a positive impact on women and childhood in general. So thank you very much, and I think it's a very timely discussion to leverage all these business development opportunities. And I'm deeply convinced that it's with developing profitable projects that we can, that these networks and these ideas could be more, useful to the women's situation in Africa.
Oh, thank you so much for your thoughtful comments here. There's women that are doing amazing work all throughout the continent of Africa, and throughout the Caribbean, Central and South America, women of African descent. This is an opportunity. I'll just put a plug that I'm not associated with, but just put a thought out there for the Association of African American Engineers. This is an opportunity for partnership and development here. The doors are open for Africa to do business and the Caribbean to do business. And I'm hearing from the energy is hugely important. I'm sitting here in Maryland in the United States, and there's a storm approaching. And before we began the show, right, I just want to be totally transparent. The lighting wasn't the best. We were having some signal connectivity. And when we're looking at really building infrastructure and opportunity, women in STEM, right, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, have a critical role to play. And as we are capable, confident, we're mothers, we're all of the things necessary to make this happen. And so what is getting me excited is the Trans-Saharan Sahel opportunity, the off-grid network, because sometimes in rural areas we think about big grid work. You want to think something much lower key if you've been on the continent for some time. Yeah. That village life, and how does that play? And this is where Ray can come in and really talk about the question in healthcare, like identify the opportunities for that off-grid network in his work in healthcare and other things. So Ray, what are your thoughts that you have about the opportunity before us with the US and Africa to really start to build networks amongst women's associations to address some of the issues, to really draw women together to be a key player to a lot of the answers that they have for what's happening in Africa now?
Well, we're looking at several different things. One of the things that we are involved in is medical missions into Africa. There's three organizations, Mema Kamo and the Tiger Lily Foundation, which addresses women under 40 years of age around breast cancer. Ifian Wabaku from the African Women Cancer Awareness Association. She does medical missions in Nigeria, which is her home country, and in other parts of sub-Saharan Africa. And Stella Adama Patrick from the Patrick Foundation. She does medical missions in Cameroon. The opportunities of merging around the issues around cancer, prenatal care, dental care is the connecting factor. When we look at connecting with universities and hospitals in Africa, and subsequently connect them to hospitals and universities here in the United States, we see that energy of education, training, medical exchanges, working with the hospitals there and the hospitals here, and providing that synergy of working together to bring healthcare, to bring screenings, to actually do surgeries in Africa. So the uses of technology, the uses of mobile units, the uses of bringing doctors over into Africa for a 2 or 3 week period to do surgery and screenings with the most complicated medical situations. Those are the type of things that we do. My medical directors, most of my medical directors are female. So when people look at breaking the glass ceiling in the medical areas and having the medical director, who is the chief person on the medical missions, she would be responsible for the staff and crew that goes over there, and responsible for their health as well. So those are the type of things that the opportunities that we're looking at, including the aspect of exchanging medical advice and exchanging technology, bringing technology to a rural area using the medical mobile units. And we're talking about mobile units that are guided by generation and guided by solar energy. So we're not we're talking about being able to reach out into the deep regions of the rural areas of Africa, as we would do here in the United States in the rural areas of our country. And finally, we're also connecting with the African diaspora in South America. We currently have a project in Brazil and Colombia, where medical mobile units will be reaching out, in particular, to the African population. And we have projects in the Caribbean. So we're really looking at this when we're looking at women, and we're looking at subject matter that are affecting women. Those are the type of things that we're doing with our organization.
Thank you so very much. We have Mayor Landing Sana, who is from the Gambia, who has joined us, and we want to bring him into this conversation. So first, I want to give my condolences to the mayor. He is a very conscientious and caring person that lost a close family friend today and still found time to come and join us into this conversation. And I also want to really acknowledge the mayor and the Gambians, particularly the Ministry of Women's Affairs, for their work and effort. There were 2 horrific floods that occurred this year. And the Gambia is still, as a whole, the Republic of the Gambia as a whole, is still trying to come back. But scores of women, from the last count that I received, it was over 5,000 families, were still struggling. And the country, many points of infrastructure, homes and goods need to be rebuilt, furnishings and other stocks need to be given. People need resources. So I really want to acknowledge the mayor for his tireless efforts and the Ministry of Women Affairs there for their work, and invite him to this conversation about what is the opportunity that you see before us on the margins of the U.S. Biden-HarrisUS Africa Leaders Summit that will be happening December 13th through the 15th. This conversation is a pre-runner to that summit. What do you see as the opportunity to leverage more women and their networks as Africa is now positioned more as a global partner? What are the opportunities before us, Mayor? Please add your voice.
Thank you very much, Madam Viola. And let me salute my co-panelists, if I could say. And thank you very much for the patience. I ran in a bit late. I appreciate that. Like he said, I am Mayor Landin B. Sane, Mayor for Mansakonko, but again, I am also the President of the Mayors of the Gambia. Yes, I just will take it up from where you stop. This year has been a very critical and unfortunate, if I should say, year for our people. Bearing in mind we had severe floods, but not only floods, we had very severe windstorms that, apart from the effect of the floods, the windstorms blew off a lot of buildings and properties, and that caused a lot of damage to households in the capital and even in the rural areas. Most seriously, of course, in the rural areas. It was serious in the rural areas because these are areas that have, basically mud houses. These houses are not strong and they are not built to stand any form of either natural or whatever pressure owing to windstorm or floods. So it was very serious to an extent that lives were lost. We pray for the departed souls on that occasion. But to crown it all, the most affected sectors of the society will be the women and young people. And I think this discussion is tailored around women and young people. I work for the local government council, and by design or default, my local government area becomes a primary duty bearer to the inhabitants of the area as a local government authority. Because the people pay their taxes and license to my office, and they expect basic services in return. These services are, of course, very wide and varied. Apart from cleaning their city, providing water and all others, supporting education, we also, provide or come in to support the critical mass, particularly the most vulnerable in the society, and that is mainly youth and women. Recently, apart from even the flood, we have embarked on series of programs to support youth and women empowerment. We know my part of the world, even though we are not the major contributors to climate emission that cause climate change, we of course bear the brunt of the effect and impact of climate change. That has rendered us to be very vulnerable, and the production and productivity in terms of agriculture has reduced drastically because the rainfall that we used to have is no more coming. And agriculture is the major employer of my country, particularly we in the rural areas, predominantly rely on agriculture for sustenance and even for little commercial activities. So because of that shift in climatic conditions, the poverty levels have risen, opportunities have narrowed down, and young people are using that to migrate to the urban areas or transit to the urban areas and risk their lives into the seas, in the Mediterranean Sea, to cross to the Europe and America. And we know, we all follow the public media, we see how much that has costed us. Lots of lives are being lost in the seas. And because of that movement, it has weakened the social fabrics of our society, because the able-bodied young men and women would migrate to either the capital or to Europe. So leaving back only women and elderly or the children. So this is very serious. So we try to embark on activities to see how we remedy that, how we build on resilience, but how we also build the resilient level and also make people become more adaptive to the realities, the current realities that climate change has imposed on our society. So we engage women on a project or program called Job Skills and Finance. This Job Skills and Finance has three components. It's meant to create jobs, it meant to create skills, but also in the process, access to finance will be enhanced, particularly linking it to local economic development. In my area, we have what we call Lumo. Lumo is a local language meaning open market. This is done daily. It's the major commercial activity for my area in the rural communities. We go to different communities on different days for weekly basis. And that is the major, a lot of people will gather there with different products. So women will bring their local produce from the farms or that they make locally and sell it out. That will be their source of income. And likewise, young people and the community members. But this has been going on for a few years now. And what actually is needed now is how we add value to it to make it bigger and extensive, so that there is that much needed value out of it to support the women and youth. We also support women who are embarking on charcoal burning. We all know, because rainfall has dropped, so women and youth go into the bush to cut the bush, burn charcoal and sell it as an economic activity for them. And that is gradually, or in turn, contributing to destruction of our environment, but also contributing to increasing impact of climate change. So we try to go to them, sensitize them, but also try to introduce them to alternative economic activities that will make them stop the cutting down of trees and concentrate on those economic activities for the sustenance of themselves and their families. And this includes skills training, it includes provision of soft loans, and also training them on some other new skills that will help them. So these are all things that my council is involved on to leverage on what the women on their own or the youth are doing to support them to scale up their engagements for more or bigger economic activities. I don't know what time I am given, but to finalize on this, we also involve in the process the opinion leaders elders committees of our area, because we know to effect change, you need to have people who are influential. So some of these activities, we include the opinion leaders or the local authorities that support us in the process to get the women and youth mobilized and see how we work with them to improve their lives and livelihoods. So we are into a variety of activities. I may not be privileged to mention all that because of time factor, but this is what I can say for now. Maybe we will expand on it if time permits us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for adding your voice to this conversation. And I want to really open this up and direct this question to Chanel here. You know, what is the right next, in your opinion? This is just your opinion, not speaking officially for the whole of the Caribbean, but your opinion here. What is the right next business step that needs to be taken now to solidify a pathway forward for economic unity amongst African Americans, Afro Caribbeans, Afro Latinos, and others in the diaspora to generate a prosperous future in Africa? What are your thoughts, Chanel?
Well, Viola, I think the next best step actually is a sustained political will. And you're hearing me?
Fine, you're perfect.
Okay, great. Yes. So I'm saying that the next best step really is sustained political will. As I'm listening to Mayor Landing there, I'm thinking that's exactly what we need if we are going to address the commonalities, all these issues that we have globally. It's going to take sustained political will to create and maintain the required framework to pave the way for economic unity and prosperity for all of us. It therefore means that we have to continue taking advantage of every opportunity, every available platform to strengthen South-South cooperation and follow through on the commitments made to ensure that they are fully implemented. You know, if you give consideration to the fact that we have, in terms of governments and so forth, we have lots of what you want to call alphabet soups, alphabet groupings. So for instance, we had in the Caribbean last year, there's a renewed call for increased cooperation between us. So last year we had the African Caribbean Summit that was held virtually, and it was led, I think, by former President Kenyatta for the Republic of Kenya. And it was done with a view to unifying our oceans and continents to deepen integration. We also have the Africa Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum that was held just in December in Barbados. And there's also an upcoming 10th summit of the Organization of Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific States. I think that's for December 10th this year, which will be held in Angola. We have also the Latin America and Caribbean Africa Summit that's to be held next year in Kenya. We also have the African Union, the Commonwealth, a host of established institutions and multilateral fora through which we can combine our collective efforts to generate prosperity in Africa and across its diaspora. And another commendable effort I think we've made in the Caribbean region is that, like CARICOM signed a partnership agreement with the Africa Export-Import Bank recently to facilitate cooperation and support the same South-South trade between Africa and the Caribbean region. And we have the CARICOM has a diplomatic mission in Kenya. We also have the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States Diplomatic Mission in Morocco. And Antigua and Barbuda had its inaugural commercial flight from Africa to the Caribbean recently. Again, now opening the gateway for, interregional, extra-regional connectivity. So therefore, I think we're making significant strides, but it is just for us to keep that momentum. And through these various platforms, we pool our resources, our talents, and find solutions to our challenges and opportunities to build those linkages needed to enhance our growth and prosperity. And so that is why I, come back to saying it is sustained political will. We all have, similar shared challenges, but we have to work together, let our voices be heard. Mayor Landing there, we all have the issues of climate change. And as he rightfully said, we contribute very little to it. You look at us in the Caribbean as well, contribute very little, yet we are all on the front lines, and so it's important that we use these platforms, Viola, such as yours, to raise our voices and to work together. So I think, again, the next best step is sustained political will. We have to work together and we have to remain committed to the cause.
Fantastic. I'd like to go to you there, Ray, for, tell the listening audience, either two things, one or the other. How are you currently, or what do you need in order to contribute to the Africa we deserve?
What we desire is collaboration and partnership. What we desire is a relationship with African countries, and we're talking about the whole continent, not just sub-Saharan Africa, to be able to provide healthcare, much needed healthcare, to make a influence and be able to connect from an academic aspect, from a job employment aspect, because there's many areas in the network of medicine where partnership and education and academic comes together. There was a mentioning of STEMs, the expansion of women in STEMs, expansion of young women in Africa, and the concentration around that. Those are the type of things that will produce the jobs for the future. Having a STEM project that concentrates around the medical area is very important for job creation, and we're always addressing the aspect of people moving to another part of the world to further their education. We want people to stay where they are, where there's plenty of jobs, where the education is available for everyone. So those are the type of things that we need, we wish for, and we welcome that cooperation.
Thank you so much for adding your voice to that. Cooperation, building networks, hugely important. Those are some touch points that I'm hearing from everyone's conversation. So now I have a question for you. And again, this is your opinion. It doesn't represent or is finale to any, your comment is just your opinion here. What are some ways that MENA nations can partner more closely with ECOWAS and SADC countries, Afro-Caribbean countries, to establish manufacturing and production that enhances and rebirths Africa as a true global partner? Right now, you're doing an amazing amount of work in the energy and power field. Is there room to manufacture solar, products on the continent, produce, and along that supply chain? Where is there room in order to expand that? I'd love to hear your thoughts around that.
Okay, thank you very much for this timely question also, because it's also a very timely question as we are working on partnerships and fundraising around the Desert to Power initiative. And one of the opportunities we highlighted is the cooperation with the MENA region, the Middle East and North Africa. There are many ways, really many ways, and I definitely agree with Chanel saying that the political will is very important to organize and structure these cooperation forms. Fortunately, and it's very timely because the political will is here. For example, at COP27, Morocco started discussion with Desert to Power in order to collaborate on industrialization and mainly in industrializing solar panels in order to provide the Desert to Power initiative with solar panels. So it's a very great illustration of an industrial integration between a North African country and the Sahel countries for solar power. Also, we are reaching to many sovereign investors and many institutional investors from the Gulf. We are seizing the potential, the networking potential of Tony Blair in the Middle East, as it is an institution which is represented in the United Emirates, also in many other Middle East countries. So we are discussing with many sovereign funds. For example, the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority is also a partner in the Desert to Power, which is a great example. And when talking about partnerships, and it's very interesting here, we have, to think outside the box and not just thinking about the bilateral partnerships, like, for example, Africa, US, Africa, Europe. We have to bring many partners around the table because each partner has something to bring to the table. So these three parties partnerships, like, for example, Middle East, US, Africa, or North Africa, Sahel countries, and US, are very interesting. For example, Morocco is a hub for Europe, given its strategic position, and Africa has a huge solar and renewable energy potential. Why not thinking about Morocco as a platform to exporting energy to Europe, or as a platform to exporting industrial stuff to Europe? And it's a great way to consider the industrialization of Africa, or the improvement of renewable energy in Africa through an African country, but which could serve as a window to Europe. The Middle East also, we can, and it's a very timely discussion because next week I will be speaking at Oman Hydrogen Summit. As a strategic speaker, talking about the bankability levers of hydrogen. And I will also speak about the possibilities to bring Oman, to bring the United Arab Emirates, to bring Saudi Arabia and other, Middle East countries with Morocco and Sahel countries around the table in order to think about a possible, integrated offer in hydrogen, but also in solar power, and mainly as hydrogen and solar power are just enablers to industrialization and to agricultural, operating, which are very interesting developmental levers for Africa. So yes, partnerships and the innovative partnerships. I think that the innovation is an interesting lever when we talk about all these possibilities of building partnerships, three parties or multi-party partnerships. Also, I think that what is interesting also to think about is the complementarities. In Africa, there are many complementarity, opportunities that we can see. There are countries that are developed in some, parts in the value chains. Other countries have some natural resources, and this gives us several and unlimited opportunities to seize these complementarities between the regions. There are regions which needs energy, other regions which are, strong at and have competitive advantages at some industries, other regions that have, competitive advantages in natural resources. And I think that the COVID-19 crisis and the war, Ukrainian war, are very interesting opportunity. They are not just challenges and crises, but also opportunities to shift and to build other, global value chain and intelligently, while integrating Africa in this value chain, either for energy or for industry and agriculture. So I think, yes, innovation, partnerships, and political will are three factors in order, to integrate the MENA region or another region, but to think just in other, outside the box and in another way to just build, innovative partnerships and to take the maximum from these partnerships, and mainly in terms of complementarity.
Thank you so much, Sana, for your in-depth conversation. And I just will add for Mayor Landing here, who will come in and add his voice. As you're thinking and you're building these partnerships out, the Gambia, through the Mayor Landing and the Ministry of Women Affairs, is definitely open to opportunities and relationships. And as we build our network here internally amongst ourselves, we can definitely be a support to one another. We are coming towards the close of our conversation. And I do want to, I know Chanel needs to leave us promptly at 12, but I do want to get this last question in and leave, and if Chanel needs to leave the call, to do that. And then we can take the last few minutes of that to really wrap up this conversation. So as a standing question of the Africa We Deserve video cast, I always like to ask people, what's right with Africa? Chanel, we hear often the ills of Africa, the poverty, the degradation, the lack. But what's right with Africa? Chanel.
Chanel, okay. Africa is the new frontier, Viola. Everyone recognizes its tremendous potential as a global partner in confronting global challenges and building global prosperity. And so that's why you have most major countries continue to reinvigorate their relationships with Africa across all sectors. You consider, for instance, the orange economy, and you realize it's growing in leaps and bounds. And this is especially the case beyond the borders of the African continent. The music, the culture, entertainment, sports, you have the natural resources. So I would say Africa, what's right with Africa is that it is ripe for investment. It is ripe for sustainable growth and prosperity. But we just need for all of us, the collective partnerships. And once we can work together, when we can move mountains, we can do very much. And so I'm going to use this opportunity, Viola, to wrap up and just to say thank you for this opportunity to share part of this distinguished panel. It was an awesome, great conversation. We must continue after this because we surely have a lot to learn from each other, lots to share with each other, and we can continue to work together even beyond this to create the Africa for all Africans, the Africa that we deserve. So thank you, and I wish you every success, Viola, as we close out this session today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming, and we will continue the conversation.
And thank you. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So here we have it. We have the question of the day. Sana, the question is on you, and Ray will close out with closing thoughts and add his question, add his voice to the question here. What's right with Africa?
We can say that we have natural resources. We have many areas where the African potential has been recognized globally as Africa is rising as a global partner. We can say that But I think that the main thing which is really right about Africa is the human capital, is what we can, is the African brains and African intelligence and African innovation potential, which can seize all these renewable and natural resources potential, all these, competitive advantages that have been recognized so far by many global partners, and where Africa was not really in the position of win-win partnerships so far. So I think that's only the African brains, the African innovation potential, and the African intelligence is capable to shift the paradigm and to give to Africa a good position in these partnerships, because there were many partnerships over the last decades with African countries, but the problem is not about having partnerships. The issue is about having a win-win partnership. Mm-hmm. And having a win-win partnership is about bringing added value. I can here give the illustration of natural resources of Africa that have been over decades, exported to other countries like European or other countries to be industrialized. And I think that the problem with this is just, a good usage of the African brain and the good usage of the human capital, which wasn't at, the level required to give to Africa a good position in these partnerships. We just want to seize the potential of African brains by working together and working also globally with other partners to reposition Africa as, a partner who has something to bring to the table, as well as other partners, and to build win-win partnerships. So what is right about Africa is simply the brain of its people, the innovation potential of its people, their intelligence, and their will to serve the Africa development.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for your comments. Mayor, it is your turn to talk about the Smiling Coast. Let the audience know that the Smiling Coast is open for business, open for opportunity, and talk about what's right. I want to get real specific for you. What's right with Gambia? What's beautiful, what's right, what makes Gambia open for business, that you can lead people into the country in order to establish the Africa we deserve.
Thank you. I really agree with Sana for the fact that we have the human capital, and for the Gambia in particular, just like you said, is the smiling coast of Africa. And what is absolutely right is the people are very honest and indeed welcoming, and they are bankable. I'm sure for every partnership, these attributes will be very important. But beyond that, as well as a country, we really have some natural endowments that could be, if utilized properly, could foster a very good partnership. Like land resource. If you look at the land resource, there is abundant land in the Gambia as compared to other countries that people will scramble, and there will be very limited land for either habitation or for some other economic or commercial activities. I'm sure you can build as many industries as possible around the available land resource that we have. We have the river, we have the Atlantic Ocean, and this is so much right about the Gambia. We have very beautiful beaches for tourism. We have very good cultural and traditional facilities and places that could be utilized for different reasons, for tourism in particular. And we have parks that could be enhanced to become the best of nature reserve parks in the world. We have UNESCO heritage sites in this country, and these UNESCO heritage sites are sites that can be celebrated everywhere around the world, and they can be um, 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 reference for not only the citizens of the Gambia, but even for visitors and for investors. Let's talk about ecotourism. The Gambia, throughout its length, the River Gambia runs through the entire country to the end, from the Atlantic Ocean to the very end of the country. So it's highly navigable. So there is every opportunity for investment. And coming to agriculture, like I said, is the major employer, used to be, and I'm sure it's still the major employer. There is every opportunity for investment into agriculture or agricultural activities, including, of course, fish farming, horticulture, beekeeping, and all the others. So that is what we have. And there is some security and political stability. When you come to the Gambia, you can roam the streets of the capital at any hour of the night and day, and you are secured without an escort of the police or so. So this is the Gambia for you, and I think that is around. And like I said, coming from the local government background, I still would want to mention that the local government authorities, are just close to the people, and they are well coordinated. I told you we have our local government association. So working through it, or working through the government, the national government, and the local government can easily also get you to the grassroots, who ultimately needs the development that we are all yearning for. Finally, partnership. I agree with Sana. It has to be partnership based on trust, partnership based on confidence, partnership also based on the belief that we all can contribute something. And that is what we need right now. Of course, we are having partners here and there, but some of the times the partnership conditions do not seem to work because you value yourself and you do not value your corresponding partner or the efforts of your partner or the potentials of your partner. That may not work in the best interest of all of you. But like when we come to the table, we see each other as equals, and each other are critical to the sustenance and to the success of the partnership in terms of achieving the objectives that will make it work. So this is what we need. This is what we need absolutely in forging partners. I know partnership is very, just like it's outlined in the SDGs, is very critical. The world today can only sustainably develop through partners, either at the local level or at the sub-regional level, at the regional or at the global level. So I think that's my take for now. Thank you.
That is wonderful. Thank you for adding your voice. And I am a lover of the Gambia and of Morocco, two of my favorite countries in Africa that I do travel quite often. And you can walk the streets of the city very well, and I have done it several times. But I would also say, Mayor, too, and with Sanaa, with our team here of Chanel and Ray, Gambia has a lot of sunshine. You're right, and there's a lot of water there.
Yes,
that's,
absolutely.
Hydropower. That's energy from the sun, solar power, and youth. Gambia is, as all of Africa, a youthful population that are looking for people, looking for opportunities for jobs, for employment, as all youth are who are looking to make their way in the world. And right now, we had a really wonderful conversation about what's the right next steps. What are ways in which the U.S. Africa Leaders Summit that's going to be happening here in Washington, D.C. can strengthen networks amongst women associations. There's lots of women throughout Africa and a lot of women in the Gambia that I could know personally, Mayor, that would be, happy to have employment, happy to have a job. And I think before us, the opportunity, Ray with healthcare, Sanaa with the Tony Blair Foundation, USID, opportunities for manufacturing, relationships with the Caribbean for production and export. And I just think that there's something to think about when we're talking about political will, infrastructure, continuing the conversation, partnerships, for us to be creative and think very broadly. And I just really, again, want to thank you, Mayor and the Minister of Women Affairs for the Gambia for being close friends to the International Institute. And thank you for your service and your work. I want to take this moment to add my voice for you, Sana and Ray, as you're coming to give closing comments. And this applies for Chanel. What's right with Africa is that you were born. All of you were born. So I want to thank your parents and your ancestors. I want to thank everyone that is in your life that created you, because you are what's right with Africa. You make Africa bright and brilliant. You give me hope that there is going to be a brighter tomorrow. And I thank you for your friendship, for the company, your partnership, and your relationships. And I'm just so pleased to have you all here today. Ray, closing remarks, please.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad that you added in that last portion of what's right with Africa. Our youth. Our youth is our future. They are our present and our future. They're going to guide us in the aspects of education, the economy, cultural arts, entertainment, the sports. They're already making impact now in those areas. The music industry has grown tenfold. The sports industry, players coming out of Nigeria and the Republic of Congo. We have several NBA players in the out of the Nigeria and the Republic of Congo. So what's right with Africa is our youth and our future. In the last hour, we talked about collaboration and partnership. Collaboration and partnership must continue. It's very important as we look in the future and bringing both Africa and America together, as well all the other African diaspora in South America and the Caribbean. We're looking at opportunity. That's what youth are looking at. They're looking at opportunities to grow, opportunities in the economy, in energy, in aspect of entertainment and sports. They're looking for the opportunities and relationship building. We must continue to build relationships in many ways as we possibly can. And finally, respect. The need to respect each other, life, property, land, water, country, and solvent.
Absolutely.
That is very much a need now and into the future. So what's right with Africa? It's all those things. It's all those things when we collaborate and we partnership. All those things work for us. As the old saying goes, when we work together, when we build that waterway, it will support all kinds of ships, and that's what we need now, as much as possible. So, what's right with Africa again is all of us working together.
With that, we come to the close. Thank you very, very much for all of your comments. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for your commitment, your service that you've given, and that you will continue to give. And we continuously look forward to bringing innovative conversation, dialogue, and most importantly, action to building the Africa we deserve. It's time for us to get interested, involved, and invested in each other's lives in order to have socio-economic unity, so that we can create 1 million jobs across the continent of Africa through manufacturing and production. And today is the start, and we are looking forward to continuing this. Stay tuned to the International Institute Africa We Deserve. We have 4 more events, pre-runner events on the margins of the US Africa Summit in Washington, D.C. We have 3 more online virtual events and 2 in-person events. We will keep you all posted. Like and subscribe to the channel, and thank you all very, very much.
Yeah, yeah.